why make the intersex character a boy rather than a girl? Well, firstly, at that time, I found writing boys much easier because most of the books that I had read, classics, had been in with male narrators. So I really liked Hunter S. Thompson, I still do. And I've read, like, Of Mice and Men was one of my favourite books. Lots of books with male protagonists. And I felt that I was a bit more like those male protagonists, those kind of adventurers and people who saw things on an epic scale and who, struggled with life's real issues. I felt more like them than some of the women I used to see in what you'd call chick lit. But I think that there are some books that are titled chick lit that are really epic and extraordinary, and I think it's my struggle is with voice. My voice is just not whimsical, and traditionally in book publishing, female voices have been quite whimsical. So I don't think that's true now. I've read some fantastic modern novels, like The Woman Upstairs by Claire Message, with really enraged and dramatic female voices. But at the time, I found writing boys easier, so I thought that I would write him as a boy. And also, I wanted to, by making the main character a boy, to show what it felt like to become a woman and to realise the female parts of yourself were going to play a part in the way that other people treated you and the way in which your life worked out. When my friends have gotten pregnant, just because they're women, some people think, oh, that's normal. You must have expected that, expected how it would be, and it must feel fine to you. But in general, I feel like we walk around thinking of ourselves as human beings, and then when something like that happens to us, it's a total shock. And certainly when I've experienced street harassment, it's been a real shock, because I don't think of myself as this sex object that wanders around the streets. I think of myself as a thoughtful human being. How would you have finished the novel if Max had carried the baby to term? Again, I think this is, you're playing devil's advocate here, you guys, because that didn't happen. But I guess I like to finish a novel. I don't like to end a story. I like to write it like this person has a life and it's going to continue after the book. So I guess he would have had the baby and it would have been much the same, except there would have been a baby. And I don't know whether he would have moved out and been with Sylvie. I don't know. Oh gosh, what questions. Was the book partly inspired by a real life event, or was it all imagination? It's definitely inspired by real life events. That idea of me being 16, 17, 18, thinking of myself as a human being, and then realising, like, no, people see you as a woman and they see you as a potential sex partner, a potential girlfriend, and people start to, when they see you as a woman, try to sort of claim you. And I think I grew up, even though I grew up in quite a right-wing area of the world, or of England, I grew up in a feminist family. I was always allowed to speak my mind. My mum is, opinionated and forthright just as much as my dad. And I had never thought that people would treat me differently because I was a woman, or that I would command less attention because I was a woman. So it's based on that, oh my God, that waking up to the idea that we are the recipients of rape culture, and we are the people whose autonomy tries to be taken away, and we're the people whose personal space is entered by society, and people think that they have a right to decide what goes on with our bodies. So I could very much relate to the intersex experience through that. So those were the real life events that inspired some of the story. How much of a conscious effort did you make in shifting styles when the point of view changes? I actually come from an acting background. I used to work in feature film, and I'm starting to work in it again. I'm in a band and we perform, and I have a character that I perform in. So I'm always been really into performance and imagination, and that's actually how I approach books. I have a voice in my head and I become that character, so it's not hard for me to write different viewpoints, and I really enjoy it. Did you take any inspiration from The Catcher in the Rye? No, I actually hate that book. I know everyone loves it, but no, I don't like it. I think, is it Holden Caulfield? I think he's such a brat. I would have smacked that kid, sent him out to work. I hate his voice. What inspired you to write this? Did you know someone whose story is similar to Max's, or was it all fictional? I think I've kind of covered that question. It was my own experiences, and also I watched the film XXY and started to research the topic and found it really interesting, and that it had lots of parallels with things I was thinking about the difference between men and women, and also the idea of myself as a human being rather than a gender or a sex.